This is Hector Ledesma with Sports Tonight, and you're listening to Sweep the League podcast.
So we were out for Halloween because Rocky and Stats, they had to go trick-or-treating and they would not come on the show. Candace was with her son. I was the only one. Derek Gervin was out trick-or-treating over on Admiral Way. So we're back. We gave everybody the week off. It is Monday night. It is Sweep the League. It is the ravishing one, ravishing Rudy Campos. It's the Rock himself. It's Stats. Shemaiah on the beats. He's been texting me, people. I'm gonna share this info later, but he's got some major stuff coming up. So that's why he hasn't been on the show. Derek Gervin, the D Gervin Big Mo show on Facebook here. He's gonna be on that show. Candace is working late. She texted me. She's rushing home right now to get on the show. She'll try to join, but if not, she'll be back with us next week. But we do have a guest. Now, I don't know if he can top Richard Oliver because Richard was talking so much shit about Hector Ledesma, who is our guest. I don't know if Hector is, going to come back at Richard. We're going to have a war. Rock and I did say we're going to have a turf war between Richard and Hector, but we'll see where it goes. My high school buddy, the man, the myth, the legend, the next big thing on TV in San Antonio Sports Tonight's own, Hector Ledesma. Hector, welcome to the big show.
You first of all, you guys got to tell me what Richard said. We can't leave that unturned. What happened?
He had nothing but great things to say about you. But you know what? I've graduated in some kind of media college, so I will say, in order for you to know, you've got to listen to the last show, Hector. We got to get those lessons up. So
we'll do.
We'll go back. Hector, man, welcome to the show, man. Appreciate you coming back.
No, of course, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So first and foremost, I got to get with Rock. Rock, you doing okay? Last week, you left me and Richard Oliver hanging because you had to go talk to Hines Ward of the XFL and left me and Richard. I figured we were more important than Hines Ward, but are you okay? Did the meeting go well?
Yeah, everything went well. Of course it went well. And, I didn't stress out this Sunday about the Cowboys, so that was nice. Just to relax, no stress, but everything's been going good.
I'm glad your Cowboys have been winning because I would never hear the end of it. And then my wife would be pissed off, and I don't want a pissed off wife. So thank you, Cowboys, for winning. Stats is back with us. Stats, you doing all right, man? I know you had a week off, man. You doing good?
Yes, sir. But I'm ready. I'm ready to sweep this league again, man. I miss it.
Hell yeah. Well, we're going to get into Cheeseman. Spurs Cheeseman is going to lead it off because we so happened to be off last week when the news broke about the San Antonio Spurs waiving one Joshua Primo. Now, just backstory behind it, Dr. Hillary Cawthon comes out accusing of exposure. I don't want to say necessarily a decent exposure, even though it kind of was indecent exposure. We're just going to say exposure, and for all that stuff, all that junk, whatever it is, that's pretty much the gist of it. Spurs kind of wiping their hands clean here. I'm the type of, what's that?
Pun intended when you said junk.
Exactly. We'd like to throw these little puns and these little things left and right so they catch them. It makes for a good laugh every now and then. My thing is this. I don't like to come out and say what I feel on a situation until everything is out on the floor. And when I look at it as okay, first off, you don't want to show your junk anywhere to anybody these days, especially text message or in person. From what I'm not mistaken, I know Rock has a bad habit of doing that from back in the day, but he's not doing that no more because he has his OnlyFans. You got to pay for, I think it's what, $19.95, Rock, for your OnlyFans. Is that what it is?
1996, bro. That's when I was born, baby.
Yeah, 1996. God, you were born in 96?
Yes, sir, dude.
Rocky's a baby.
Shit, man. Hector and I graduated when you were 1 year old, man. I can't. Stats, when were you born? Is he here?
Yeah, 1991.
91?
1991. Yep.
Hector,
That's went silent for a bit, right?
Oh,
When it
God,
disclosed
man.
his age, he was like, "Damn, and I have to really into this."
Yeah,
Yep.
Hector and I are getting kicked in the balls by these ages, man. You guys are babies. I knew Rock was a baby, but I didn't think Stats was that much of a baby, like at all. Jesus. Anyway, all right. So, yeah, Rock has an OnlyFans. Go look him up. You can definitely find it. 1996 is how much you pay a month. But we want to get around the horn here on the Primo thing. Now, I know Hector, being that you've got, you're a part of the Spurs media. You cover them for Sports Tonight. You've got more of an insight of, when it comes to a lot of stuff. You're able to talk to players and coaching staff, personnel. And again, I'm not really looking for any secrets, any stories, or anything like that. But as someone who does cover the Spurs, what was your first and your initial reaction to the news? And I'm going to give you mine when you're done, because I think where I've covered the Spurs last year, I was able to cover the team as part of the media. My reaction was probably not like yours. And I'm going to say it's kind of weird, because I'm going to give you my reaction. You give us your reaction on it, but it's coming from two different media guys. And I think because you're so more in depth with them, that's why I'm telling everybody your reaction was probably different than mine.
Well, first of all, you know who told me that the Spurs had waived Primo?
I heard that story.
Yeah, Rocky? Did he tell him the story already?
Yeah, I just told him right before we got in.
Rocky told Rocky's the one that told me that Primo had been let go. So, one of the things that I'm kind of blessed to do is several organizations and schools from around the area, they'll ask if I can kind of do certain things for them, and so I have this neat little partnership with Harlandale ISD, and so one of the things I do for them is I do public address announcing for their football games, and Rocky writes the write-ups for a lot of the Harlandale and Rocky, do you do Harlandale and McCullum, or do you just mainly do just one of the two?
I do mostly both, but I'm more of a mercenary. Whatever they need me, I'll just do any district. But they usually send me all to Harlandale.
Yeah, so I see Rocky at the Harlandale at Memorial Stadium all the time, and so we're about to start the pregame announcements. It's about what, Rocky, about 6:20, 6:25. We're about to start the pregame announcements, and Rocky looks at me. He's like sitting 2 seats over, and he goes, "Hey, did you hear Josh Primo got cut?" And I go, "Rocky, shut up. I'm gonna, come on, dude. I'm gonna start, the mic's already on. Like, don't mess around." And he's like, "No, seriously, dude." So I get my phone out, and sure enough, email from the Spurs, Josh Primo waived. Huh? So as I was telling Rocky throughout the night, I'm like, holy moly, I've got like 30 seconds before I'm supposed to start talking here. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to deal with this in a minute. So I start doing the spiel. Think about when you've gone to a high school football game, all the stuff that's announced, before a game, the UIL read, the introduction of the bands, introduction of the cheerleaders, all that good stuff, whatever. So in between those announcements, whenever I can, I'm texting my sources, like, what's going on? Well, I'm not getting responses. When I finally do get a response, let's just say it was along the lines of, "This is not the time. Please stop reaching out." I've never gotten any kind of reaction like that from anybody that is I kind of rely on for information. So I thought, okay, this is bad. Like, the specifics of this are really bad, because I think to kind of the long way of answering your question, Rudy, is I think we all kind of sensed the way it happened, and considering it was Primo, is that it wasn't basketball related, right? And so everybody's imaginations start wandering, right? And so you already knew it was bad, but you're trying to figure out the extent. And when I get a reaction like, not right now, or this isn't the time, I'm thinking, okay, this is pretty bad. And so over the course of the night, there I am again in between trying to do, public address and, calling every play and whatever for the football game. I'm trying to see what I can find out. That's when you end up seeing like the silly things come out, right? Like at one point there was, I don't even want to dignify him, but you guys know what I'm talking about, like the rumors of what he had done and this and that. Mm-hmm. And then when I finally got home and the game was over, and I'm able to kind of like talk to people, I say talk, kind of communicate with people, I did end up getting the notion that it had to do with some kind of sexual misconduct, but I could not get a second source to confirm it. Mm-hmm. And I suspect I wasn't the only one in that boat, because when Woj and Ramona Shelburne the next day broke the story, and I think Shams might have been either right there with him or right behind him, not surprisingly, right? I know a lot of people are like, okay, they got it. They got that second source, they got the second person. And I think who Shams had was the person in the Minnesota hotel. I think that's what put Shams over the top. I still don't know who put Woj and Ramona, who verified, who their second source was.
Yeah.
And so my initial thought, like before we get to the press conference and before we get to the Spurs reaction to the press conference, my initial thought was, okay, as all of this is going on, and again, I'm repeating a timeline that everybody's fully aware of now, right? Is between the initial announcement that he'd been waived and when it came out that he had exposed himself, was Primo's reaction. And my reaction to Primo's statement, and again, I'm reading it as I'm freaking like, number 21, Julian Roque for 7 yards, whatever. As I look at Primo's statement, I'm like, man, I just had a bad feeling because it had the makings. That thing read, and then the release he read after the doctor called in press conference kind of solidified this with me. Primo's statements have the ring of desperation. Like my initial reaction is that's a shame, because there are people who are battling mental who are dealing with mental struggles, who are actually dealing with mental disorders and trying to cope with things going on in their lives. And it felt like a cover, like it felt dirty. It felt like, dude, don't use this as an excuse. And sure enough, to me at least, when I read his statement, from following Dr. Calden's press conference, it was kind of the same thing. Now, as I say this, guys, and everyone listening, I have not talked to anybody from the Primo side of things. I have not gotten any response there, no reaction there. So this is me just simply answering how I took the news and how it hit me, and how I'm kind of, how it's playing out. And we'll see what happens going forward. But in terms of the way it all landed, that's, for me, that's kind of how it was leading up to that press conference on Thursday.
Yeah, and it was funny because Rock, when he told me, he goes, "Hey, I was breaking the news to Hector when he was about to," and I was so like, man, I wonder if Hector's right there saying, number 22, Josh Primo, for 5. Whoa, wait, sorry, kind of like getting off the track there or something. I was waiting for him to tell me that, but I could imagine. I mean, you're the guy at Sports Tonight. You're the man. You've got great people that work for you, and knowing the commitment you have to it, I can just imagine how crazy it was for you to do the game, to try to get that covered, get some kind of info, because I was bowling on Friday night when it happened. And my reaction when I got it was like, okay, first thing to hit me was there's some kind of law thing there. He broke some kind of law. He did something that is probably looking at jail time. The first thing I heard was murder. I mean, that was the first thing that came all over the feed, and everything was murder. And I'm like, I don't think so, but okay. Then it was some kind of exposure. And I said, that's probably more than likely. I kind of like your timeline. It was like that. And I think with me, for the first time, I felt like you in a sense, because I threw my first ball and I look at my phone. Hector, I've never had 35 text messages at one time at all. And I'm like, okay, somebody in my family must be in the hospital or something. But when I get 35 friends texting me, what happened to Primo? What do you know? And some of these guys are media guys, dude. Like, holy cow. Like, I was like, I don't know. And I think it's because we have, like, all of us here have a small tie to Derek Gervin. So I figured, maybe he knows, he's got, connection to the Spurs. And I'm like, I don't, but one of them was Derek. Like, what happened? Like, I have no idea. I don't know.
I was just gonna say, Rudy, it was stunning, and like the basketball aspect of this gets lost too, and for good reason, right? Like if the guy's running around exposing himself, like the last thing you want to be like, yeah, the guy's like exposing himself to a woman or women, But let's talk about how much the Spurs are going to miss his, his growth and his development. Like that's just, you don't do that. Not right now. Right now, that's going to come later. But that's really what made it shocking. Like it would have been shocking enough had it been somebody like, well, actually, I don't know. It's tough to compare because you have to almost say if it was like, Keldon or Devin, if it's a person like that, even somebody like Trey Jones, like if you get that email about Trey Jones, your mind doesn't immediately go to, oh my goodness, it's not basketball related. It's like, okay, like there was just a falling out and they can live without Trey Jones. Like, but because it was Primo and because they were because he was headed toward, it's a generic term, but because he was headed toward face of the franchise status, it was like, honestly, it's probably, I don't think it's a stretch to say, and I'm trying not to be a prisoner of the moment, but it might be, and it's kind of ironic that it comes now, right? When the Spurs are down, especially considering, where they've been the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
It's probably the most shocking thing that the Spurs have ever done. Like honestly, I'm trying to think because the Kawhi thing played out. So by the time the trade happened, because with Kawhi, it was a slow buildup, and you could sense, and that's a whole nother story, guys. We could talk about the whole Kawhi thing. Like we got beat up in the media a lot for being like, see, for other, I can't tell you how many people came up to me in real time and were like, dude, you're making too much of this Kawhi thing. You're making it worse. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, honestly, guys, like he does not. This is going to be ugly. Like we're getting to a point of no return, and then nobody wanted to sit back and be like, see, we told you so, but it was just a slow playing thing that from the moment there was a story that happened early on that said to me, this thing might be irredeemable. Like he's not going to play for the Spurs again. And from that moment to when the trade actually happened that summer, it was a slow play. Like there was nothing shocking. And you think of other things that like are elements of surprise. There's no other like law related thing, off the court related thing that's quite this shocking. Like, remember Rod Strickland exposed himself in the early 90s and David Wingate, Wingate had a rape allegation.
Yeah, Wingate. I think the only thing that came close was Alvin Robertson
in the late 80s.
Because he got traded right away.
Yeah, and then the whole Dennis Rodman fiasco for like the 2 years he was here, like every week it was like a different circus, like what was going on. But like in terms of just one shocking moment, I have a hard time coming up with a moment that was more what than that. And so I think when that's your starting point, it's tough to process everything that happens immediately afterward.
It really is. I mean, the only thing close to it, and I'm not saying close to it in a way like this happened, but I mean, something real not similar, but I guess recent would maybe be the Tony and Brent Berry thing.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally that did put a friction, and it had to make, obviously Brent was gone. You're not going to get rid of Tony, but
hey, can I tell you guys a quick little funny story about the Tony Brent thing?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or not Brent, the Aaron Berry Tony thing. Okay, so real quick, guys, like so my wife and I were about to get married. We were leading up to our marriage. That night, I had shifted my schedule that day, so I was going to work a day shift. Like somebody else was going to cover the game that night. I wasn't going to go. Like I was going to work a day shift. And so because the reason I did that was my wife was like, hey, we need to meet with the cake lady, and she wants us to taste the different kinds of cake. So we have this thing, make it happen. I'm like, yes, ma'am. We're about to get married. I'm like, yes, honey, whatever. Like, I'll be there. You let me know what time, right? So it was that day. So we're set to have the cake tasting, like whatever, at 5:00. At like 2:30, 3:00 is when the news breaks. And so now, and the Spurs send out an immediate message saying, we're gonna make Pop available at 4:15 at the AT&T Center. They had a game that night, but no one who's not ordinarily credentialed to Spurs games can come. Well, the only people who had credentials at Fox were me, Chuck, and our sports photographer Jack Green. So like Chuck's hanging back, like trying to get a handle on the developing story, meaning I've got to go down there, right? Like to get this thing with Pop. So yeah. I called my wife and I'm like, babe, I'm not going to be able to make this thing. Like the Spurs are having a thing. I need to go down there. And so to this day, because of that, like my wife has never forgiven Tony Parker and Aaron Berry for for engaging in whatever it is they were doing.
Wow, man. Dude, your wife is great. Because if I was to tell my wife that, I would be 6 feet under after getting home from covering that thing.
Yeah. That's pretty much where I was. It took a while to get back in good graces.
Well, I'm glad Tony didn't ruin your marriage, man. I mean, apparently he ruined somebody else's. That's Rocky. What do y'all got for Hector? If y'all don't want to talk the Primo thing, that's fine. But I mean, y'all got any Spurs thing, whatever y'all want to for Hector. This is Sweep the League every single Monday night. Baller Boys podcast on Tuesday. D Gerv and Big Mo Show every Monday on Facebook. Don't forget Shemaya on the Beats, Internet Radio, and I Am Refocused Radio. Always Shemaya. All great podcasts, part of the Sweep the League network. Hector, these guys are gonna come at you bad, man. They were salivating to coming at you right now.
I'm scared, fellas. But go ahead.
I love Hector.
Rocky's the man.
Does he wear before you go, Rock? Does he wear short shorts at the game?
Rocky?
Yes.
You know what, Rocky? You do wear short shorts.
Oh no!
Okay.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
Honestly, I never thought about it, but now that Rudy mentions it, you do wear short shorts, right, bro?
Yeah, Hector sees it all the time, every Friday at Harlandale Stadium, and then I actually wore sweats. No, I did wear shorts. I wore shorts this time at the Frontier Bowl. I was wearing shorts, and I was pretty cold on the field.
The very first time I was like, "Hey, Rock, come in the studio on the radio show. Let's give you a chance on the radio. Let's get you on the air." And he walks in, and I'm like, "Dude, were those like your kindergarten shorts, or I mean, those are tiny."
You look like John Stockton.
He looked like John Stockton, literally like Mark Eaton back in the day when those shorts were even shorter. That's how bad they were.
Start calling Rock Stockton.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. All right, Rock, he's all yours, Rock.
No, so given Hector's real vested in the high school football scene. He's, like you say, he does a lot of PA announcing. I just want to get your take. How far do you think the SAISD schools have? How far do you think they're going to go in the playoffs? You have Harlandale going up against Lockhart, and then SA Vets Memorial and Burbank against Lockhart. Do you think those teams can go pretty far? And do you see a San Antonio team making it pretty far beyond those two in the UIL playoffs?
It's going to be tough, Rock. I mean, I think you see it, right? Like every single Friday. Like the thing about high school football that it's great because number one, it's Texas, right? And number two, like it's the entire community. It's like it's more than about football. But like the thing you learn really quickly in covering high school football is how they play on different fields. Like almost literally, in terms of separating them in classification, right? Like there's a reason Brennan and Steele, Brandeis, Reagan, there's a reason those Judson, there's a reason they're all 6A, and there's a reason Brack, Burbank, Highlands, Harlandale are 5A, and then so on. But beyond those classifications, it's like, and I see this comfortably as a kid who would have gone to Lanier. Had I not gone with Rudy to Central, I would have gone to Lanier. So like, I consider that home. Like for me, SAISD is home. And so I'm comfortable saying this is, when you play for that kind of team, and I know, Rocky, like I'm taking your question and I'm like turning into totally something else. Like instead of being like, dude, just answer whether they're going to win or not. When I think of Lanier, before Burbank or Harlandale or Brackenridge and Sam Houston and so on, before I think about X's and O's and what they can do on the field and what's going to be key in terms of them coming up with a win, what I think about first is how many guys are they going to have at practice on Tuesday? Because you talk to those coaches and they'll tell you like, yeah, we didn't have our best player on Tuesday or Wednesday for practice because he had to work, or he had to stay home and take care of little brother, or he had to do this, or et cetera, et cetera. And so I think the reality of it makes it tough for the SAISD schools, the Harlandale ISD schools, the Edgewood ISD schools, and then some of the North Side and Northeast schools like Lee and Holmes, like the schools that have become landlocked, more or less, kind of inner city. Like it's ridiculous to me that like Holmes is now inner city, like Lee is inner city. It's funny, but like not funny. I think you know what I'm saying. It's interesting. It's kind of become the new reality. the growth of the city and like the demographics of the city is it's so hard for schools like that to compete once they leave their district. And so Harlando's going to have a tough go of it, man, with Veterans Memorial. Vets Memorial, in case you guys, because they have a kid who plays running back named James Peoples. The kid is like he's getting looks from Ohio State, Penn State, Alabama, you name him. They're looking at James Peoples.
Really?
And so, yes. And
yep,
so
he's a 4-star.
And Harlandell's going to go up against that guy. Like it's going to be tough. It's a tough go of it. And they know, the coaches know, and so they'll practice hard all week. They'll give it a shot. But everybody in that district, because Highlands is the fourth team in that district to make the playoffs. It was Alamo Heights was the 1 seed, Burbank was the 2, Harlandale with the loss to McCullum ended up being the 3 seed, and then Highlands is the 4th team out of that 14 5A Division 2 to make it. It's going to be tough for those other 3 outside of Alamo Heights to kind of advance, past this first round.
Damn. So Veterans Memorial High School. Where is that located? That's not Memorial High School where I live.
No,
right?
it's part of Judson's ISD. It's the new Judson's.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I've been out of the loop for so long. I don't know half these damn schools.
No, honestly, Rudy, honestly, man, if we weren't doing the games every single weekend, I'm right there with you, man. Like that, like in the last couple. You know what's funny, Rudy, is I almost feel like, and maybe Stats and Rocky, it's different because maybe they as they were growing up, it's like, okay, not a big deal, but. You know how for us it seemed like forever while we were growing up, it was the same high schools. Like we just had a set number of high schools, right?
Yeah.
It seems like right after we graduated, like expansion started and it like growth of high schools, the addition of high schools started, and it hasn't stopped since. Like think about it. Like since we left high school, O'Connor has been built, Reagan has been built. Johnson has been built. Warren has been built. Stevens has been built. Steele has been built. Harlan has been built. Sotomayor has been built. Veterans Memorial has been built. There's Wagner has been built. I think I might have already said Stevens. There's all these high schools have come up like in the last 20, 25 years. And like, if you look at the number of high schools in San Antonio, I'm guessing and count Judson, count Steele, count Clemens, count those schools, count Alamo Heights, O'Connor. Like I'm going to guess those schools number somewhere between 50 and 60, just off the top of my head. I would not be surprised if half of them or not near half popped up like in the last 20, 25 years.
Easily, because when we were in high school, and I'm going to let Stats get in here too, but when we were in high school, I think Judson was the powerhouse. I mean, that's all you knew was Judson back then. There was no one really competing with Judson at the time.
Yeah,
I think that was like the primary school, and then you had a shout out to Kenneth Lopez, quarterback for Central Catholic, who threw more picks than touchdown passes in his career. Central really wasn't too much of a big thing at the time, but we'll blame Hector on that because he played football. I didn't.
Yeah, blame me for that. No, but to your point, Rudy, like for real, like it was Judson, it was Clemens, and then like Northeast, it was Churchill, Lee, Addison, and Mack. And then North Side, it was Jay, Marshall, Taft, and Clark.
Yeah,
and then all the SAISD schools have been around for a while, and so have the 2 Harlandale and the 2 Edgewood ISD schools. For the most part, that was it. And now Northside ISD has like 14 high schools, compared to like 5 when we were in high school.
Wasn't Alamo Heights was like the Notre Dame, right? They were just a random ass school at that random ass place.
Yeah, and they were always pretty competitive. They were always pretty good. They're another one. Yeah, they've been around for a while too. But yeah, man, and even Northeast, like they haven't grown at the same rate as Northside, but their 2 biggest schools, and many would say their 2 best schools by really a number of factors are new or relatively new, Johnson and Reagan. So it like the high school landscape has completely changed in the last 25 years.
And I'm going back in high school basketball. When we were in school, East Central with Bonowitz and Mathis were the powerhouse. I played tournament against West Campus when Devin was there. I got actually dunked on by Devin Brown. That was fun.
Hey,
Robert
remember this? Do you remember the story with Steve Nava when he was guarding Devin Brown?
Yes.
Okay. Have you told Rocky and Stats that story?
I have not. Be my guest. I love the way people tell it.
Okay, so we're playing West Campus, and Devin Brown and one of our teammates, he was in our class, a guy named Steve Nava, and one of our better players. Poor Steve is trying to guard Devin. Now Steve is all of like 6'2", maybe 6'3", like skinny, good player, but like those were his realities, right? Like last name's Nava, 6'2", 6'3", skinny. So he's trying to guard Devin. So Devin had like by the half, Devin has like 34 on us. Okay. So in the locker room, Coach Ivada's like, he's going over the game plan, and Steve goes, yeah, but coach, when Devin does this, and Coach Ivada goes, what'd you call him, Steve? Steve goes, Devin. And coach goes, Steve, he's got 34 points on us. You call him Mr. Brown.
Mr.
Wow.
He's got 34 points on us at the half. He's Mr. Brown to you.
Wow, I do remember that. I remember that story like if it was yesterday. Jesus Christ, man. Oh man, Devin was a beast back then. I know Stats wants, because Stats is a Bucks fan, but he wants to get a Cowboy question in here. I got to bring up one other thing with Central, because I'm going to talk more about Central in our high school days. We're here with Hector Ledesma, Sports Tonight. I always get approached by this, and it's weird because even to this day, I get approached by people about Central Catholic's basketball team. The two names that come up every freaking time, and I think we were there at the time, were Barry Carew and Michael Canty.
Mm-hmm.
You remember those guys?
Yeah. Canty was 1 year younger than we were. He was a transfer in, and then Carew was like, I think, a sophomore when we were there, our senior year.
Whatever happened to them? Because I've got people asking me left and right what happened to those guys. I'm like, I don't know. And I was like, you know what? Let me ask Hector one day.
You know what, Rudy? I don't know what happened with Carew and Canty. But remember, the next year they won the state championship with those two guys.
Exactly.
When Canty was a senior and Barry was a junior, and I think Ronnie Fanari was a sophomore.
Yeah.
They won the state championship. Now our senior year they went to the state semifinals, and that's where the season ended. But honestly, man, I don't know. I want to say that Canty played ball somewhere, like somewhere small, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I meant to ask you, and I wrote a note says ask Hector that, because I literally get people all the time asking about that. I'm like, I don't know, man. That's a good question. I mean, I talk to Fanari every now and then, but other than Canty and Carew, I have no idea. So we're going to shift gears from high school football and sports to the Dallas Cowboys, which is my absolute favorite conversation piece to have with every single guest we have, because I'm a huge Cowboy fan. Not really, but Stats is he's a major Buck fan. He loves Brady more than Giselle loves Brady, and he wants to ask you a Cowboy question. I'm not saying you're going to divorce him.
Well, that's not saying much nowadays, right? Everybody loves him more than Giselle does right now.
Do you think so do you think Brady I made the comment a few weeks back, and I don't know if it was it wasn't on the Richard Oliver show, it was something else. Brady looks like Joan Rivers, right?
Yeah, he had work done.
He did?
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah, he had. I don't know if he's confirmed it, but he looks. Yeah, just look at him. You can tell it's like it's weird, like it's wax like.
It is. It's like,
is that why the divorce happened?
I don't know. We can get an idea.
I know, right? Like, I mean, all I know is what the reports are, right? And given how his retirement played out, like that had or the non-retirement, right? Or he did retire for like a week, right? What was it, like a week or 8?
Yeah, it was like a week.
We were on the air. He retired. We come back next week and we have to breaking news on the air. Tom Brady's back. Like, what the fuck? Really?
I mean, the way that whole thing happened, it screamed like okay, you're right, Giselle. Like, you're right, honey. Like, I'm gonna be home. Like, there's nothing else to prove. Like, how much more can I play? My health is important. You're right, honey. And then, like, after a week of it, he was like, "Nah, dude. Like, I don't know. People probably got in his ear as well. Like, it wasn't just people getting in his ear. I don't want to make it sound like I'm blaming like outside forces, because at the end of the day, you don't make a decision like that unless you fully want to make, or it starts with you, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think he thought, why am I walking away? Like, I can still play. I could probably still win more championships. Like, this is what I love doing. Why am I going to walk away? And I think he thought that, okay, it's going to cause some friction at first if I go back, and Giselle's not going to be happy. But like with every marriage, you know, you have your ups and downs. You'll figure it out. You'll work through it, and I guess they just were able to work through it.
Oh boy,
Well,
it backfired on him.
Well,
big
yeah,
time.
it backfired, but I mean, you know what? Let's just say maybe Giselle saw that his performance in the bedroom was equal to the performance he's having this year on the field. So I don't blame her for leaving him at all. All right, Stats, the floor is yours for Hector and the Cowboys question.
Oh man, we just had to talk about the Bucks, and you expect me to just segue into the Cowboys questions?
I had to loosen you up there a little bit,
Okay.
like Tom. I mean, you're not as what? I mean, not loose like Tom Brady or anything. I mean, that's
we can talk about that. So you're a Buccaneers fan, not a Milwaukee Bucks.
Oh, see, he's switching it on you. He's switching it on you.
Well, I mean, I do like both teams. I am a fan of both teams, but yeah, did y'all catch any of that Rams Buccaneers game by any chance?
A little bit. I saw Tom Brady throwing it to even though Rudy's taking a dig at him in the bedroom. I saw Tom throw it Tom threw it like 60 times yesterday, right?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I mean, it was just two bad teams going against.
When you're shooting blanks, you just got to keep shooting. Eventually, you'll get one.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Evans is going to catch something, right? You know, like
hopefully it's not an ST. Never. Just go on with the question. Just go on with the question.
Oh man, they got to catch a lot of balls, man. You know?
The references are huge.
Oh, it's incredible. I see what you did there. But no, I'll segue here to the Cowboys, man. Is it far-fetched to say that the Cowboys can't get to the Super Bowl?
Far-fetched to say that they can't?
Yeah, like do they have a pretty good shot? I think.
Okay, this is fun, fellas, and I think we can all take part in this exercise so that I don't hug this to myself, right? Like, would you guys all agree that take the star off the helmet, take what's happened the last 25 years from an organizational historical standpoint, take Jerry Jones out of the equation, right? Like, because when the game starts, like, at the very least, like, Jerry's a little bit removed, like, at least for those 60 minutes, like, Jerry's not right there, right? So take all those elements away and just look at the Cowboys and what you see on the field. Am I right when I say you look at that team, a ferocious defense, hell of a running game, and a quarterback who, while not what Jerry Jones and maybe some of Cowboy fans, although a lot of Cowboy fans I find hate Dak or hate on him at the very least, though there is a big portion of that. Really, Dak is not. Who are we kidding, right? He's not Josh Allen. Like, he's not Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's just not that guy. But he's serviceable. He's good. He is good enough when you have a great running game and you have pieces around you. He's shown us that he can win 13 games his rookie year, and last year he can win. I think they went 13-4 or 12-5 last year. He can have success. So when you have those elements, and again, take away the Cowboys, the star and the history of the last 25 years, and you just have the elements that I just named, you would look at that team and think that team's got a good shot at the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah,
right.
100%.
Right. Like, yeah, like put the Steeler logo and the Steeler history on this Cowboys team, and you're looking at them and you're like, dude, that's one of the best teams in the AFC. Like, it's going to be hard to beat them.
Mhm.
And that's the way we should be looking at this Cowboy team. But I don't blame anybody, and I fell for it last year. I don't blame anybody who goes, we've been down this road way too many times,
Mhm.
you know, to believe and then to have the rug pulled out from underneath. The one difference I do see, and this is where I have to catch myself from last year, because this is the trap I fell into last year. Last year, I was fooled, like in hindsight, like as we were going through it, I was like, no, man, the defense is pretty good. What I missed last year and watching them game after game is I mistook the defense being opportunistic and making big plays and Trayvon Diggs going crazy with the interception record and the whole nine. I mistook that for a solid, sound, fundamental, aggressive defense. Well, they were aggressive. Maybe I shouldn't include aggressive. But I mistook what I saw for just an overall complete defense. And so I thought it's different this year. Last year I thought this. It's different this year because their defense is better. Yeah, Dak has been good. Yeah, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup give them the best threesome receiver. But it's different this year because of the defense. So here and obviously I was wrong. Like, they got to the playoff game and the 49ers and Debo ran all over them. So here I am a year later, and I find myself thinking the same thing. Like, the defense is what separates them this year. Like, maybe this year is different. It's not your typical Romo's lighting it up, but he's having to score 42 points for them to be 6-2. Like, that's not what we're looking at this year. But I'm so scared, for lack of a better term, to go any further than that, because I feel like I was burned last year by this same analysis. Does all that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh,
I completely agree. I'm not a Cowboy fan. I'm a Cowboy fan by marriage. That's all. I've told everybody that. I will live and die by that. I'm not a Cowboy fan, but as good as this Cowboy team looks on paper, outside of the receivers, because I said that was their biggest issue this year, and of course Zeke. I've never bought into Zeke at all. Dak Prescott is a serviceable quarterback.
Right.
I've always said he's not going to take you. He may take you to a Super Bowl, but he's not going to win you a Super Bowl. He's going to Matt Ryan you. He's going to look great till he gets to the Super Bowl, and then all hell breaks loose. So I don't see Dak Prescott being a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Period.
What's that?
I was gonna say, Rudy, you like period. You don't see it. Period. Even with a great defense, even with a dynamic running game, you don't think he can win. Period.
Is this Cowboy defense the Baltimore Ravens defense where Trent Dilfer became a quarterback winning Super Bowl?
No, but no defense is that defense. Like, that defense is there with the 85 Bears and the 70 Steelers, right? Like in the in the Legion of Boom Seahawks. Like, no defense is going to be those defenses are like top 5 in NFL history, right?
Exactly.
Like no one's going to reach that level.
Exactly.
The Brad Johnson Buccaneers team.
The Buccaneers defense, right? The Warren Sapp, the Lynch, the Thomas, that's another great unit.
So, but this team did show what it could do against probably one of the best teams in the league in the Eagles. I mean, they didn't necessarily run all over them. So I give them credit. The defense is good. It's Super Bowl winning good, but something has always told me that Dak Prescott's just not that guy to get you there. Like, can he make a play in that big of a game?
Yes, I think he can make a couple of plays in a game. I think Dak Prescott is. I mean, the guy's been to 2 Pro Bowls, right? Like, he's not Trent Dilfer. He's not. Yeah. He's not Brad Johnson. So he can make you enough plays. But I agree with you. Like, I think, and this is the thing about today's sports world, right? And like what the sports media has become is like everybody has to have a take, right? And so like it's boring and it's not cool to say, hey, look, like it's all right. Like, Dak is not the worst quarterback in the NFL. And at the same time, he's not top 3, he's not top 4. Like, he's not that. It's okay to say, sure, he's 13th. Like, you don't have to have the argument over and over whether he's a top 10 quarterback. I'm totally cool with saying, yeah, whatever. Like, throw him wherever you want between 8 and 15. I'm not going to scream and yell about it. Like, I don't care. But I do think if he's the 9th best quarterback, if he's the 11th best quarterback, whatever your cutoff is, I do think that he is good enough with that defense. And I'm talking specifically about this year's defense, because unlike last year's defense, which had the mirage because they had so many takeaways, I think this year's defense is all around solid. Like, I think this Cowboys defense is the closest thing I've seen to the early 90s in terms of Cowboys, just Cowboy franchise, historical defenses. It's the closest thing I've seen to the 90s defenses, where like you look at that defensive front and you go, that's a good defensive front. You look at the linebackers and you go, okay, none of those linebackers are going to make you go, oh my goodness, like Ray Lewis or whatever. But as a unit, they're good. You know, Robert Jones, Ken Norton, Dixon Edwards, it's a good unit. And in the secondary, it's good. It's sound and it makes big plays and they're good against the run, but at the same time they're very good in pass coverage too. Back in the day, Larry Brown, Kevin Smith, Isaac Holt, James Washington, Thomas Everett, those Darren Woodson, those type guys. Like I think they're as complete right now as they were then defensively. I think this is the most complete defense we've seen. And then when you've got number 11 running around back there, man, I mean, geez. I mean, he's what makes the difference. I mean, not freaking Micah Parsons, it's getting tough to watch him over and over. It's getting tough to run out of ways to describe like the havoc that he creates when he's out there and just the problems that he poses for an offense. So I think, him being a year better, was the big difference between this year and defense and last year's defense as well. So I think, Rudy, with this defense and with Tony Pollard in the mix, I think they're good. And I think Dak can win you a Super Bowl. Now, if you take Pollard out of the equation, if you take Parsons out of the equation, and now you're asking Dak to throw it 40 times a game, then no, I don't think he's going to win you a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and what you described, and these guys are going to jump in now, but I'm going to give a quick second here. But what you described is, the entire sex life of a Cowboy fan, because, it's major boner on the D side, but then it's looking at grandma's picture on the offensive side, where it's just left all the way around. I mean, that's exactly what it is, because what you described is a great defense, like pass defense for the Cowboys. But then you go, okay, let me look at the other side of the spectrum. There's no Emmitt Smith. There's no Michael Irvin. There's no Novacek. There's no Aikman. There's no those guys. And we can't say that this offense for the Cowboys is good enough to get the job done. And that's just for me saying. I've said that all year for him, but I want these guys to jump in. We're here with Hector Ledesma Sports Tonight. If you just tuned in, we're talking about Cowboys, and we're kind of mixing sex talk in there. Just don't worry about it. Go back and listen to the podcast. You'll understand why. Rock, Stats, jump in here because Rock's the biggest Cowboy fan I know. He has a pair of blue shorts with a big star. I'm not going to tell you where it is. He might wear them one day, but he's got a big star somewhere on there.
We at the very least, we know they're short, right?
They're short.
Of course.
The booty shorts?
Yeah.
The booty shorts, right?
They are.
No, but I agree completely what everyone said about the Cowboys. The only concern for me is their defense is the run defense. That was a big concern for them last season. You saw it against the 49ers, and it still is. They're in the middle of a pack team with the run defense, and that's their biggest flaw. If they don't get it fixed, they're gonna get exposed again. But I'm just like Hector. Last year I got caught up. I thought this defense was legit. I thought it'd be good. And then we see the 49ers. I'm like, man, they're good on paper, but no, it's the Cowboys, man. I'm gonna root for them, win or lose, man. And then I just get screwed, man. And I'm just upset. Now, come here. Everyone knows that I talk about the Cowboys. I write for a sports blog, and I wrote a recent blog, and I wrote how the reality is, going into Christmas Eve, the Cowboys can be 12-2. They have one of the easiest schedules, and that could be a 12-2 team against possibly a 14-0 team against the Eagles. That would be a hell of a Christmas Eve matchup. This Cowboy run and playoff run, it's going to come down to to the very last game, and it kind of makes me scared of the Cowboys somehow get the 1 seed because they're going to have so much hype around them. And they're just going to shit the bed because that's what you just see every single year. It's like there's a curse around them or something, I get my hopes up and then boom, it just gets shit on every year. And I'm sure Hector, Mark feels that way. But it's just so annoying how frustrating to see them lose. And I just can't wait till the day, maybe in the future if I'm alive still that they win possibly because I'm just going to rub it in Rudy's face the whole time and just be rowdy the whole time. And me and Hector are just going to be yelling at Rudy, just like, just like how rowdy the Astros fans have been, saying, we're not cheaters no more, but they still are. But that's how rowdy we're gonna get. But I'm still on the fence with the Cowboys.
That's why the medical profession made Viagra blue, because it's only giving you excitement for a little bit. They
Oh,
they colored it
wow.
right after the Cowboys logo. So enough said about that. That's why Viagra is
Oh,
blue.
wow.
The little blue pill. All right, stats. What do you got for Hector on the Cowboys? Because I'm surprised you're talking Cowboys stats. I see you jumping off the Bucks bandwagon, leaving me on the Falcons bandwagon, which we'll take first place. No
No, no,
problem.
I'm gonna pull for the Bucks like all the time, but I mean, it's not been fun being a Bucks fan right
Hey,
now.
By
Yeah,
being a
Brady's
Falcon
back.
fan.
Hey, Stats, out of curiosity, when did you become a Bucks fan?
Do you remember Josh Freeman?
I do.
Holy cow! Oh
Yeah,
my god. Okay.
that's when I became a Bucks fan. The
Okay.
hype around Josh Freeman.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah, it was cool, and they have an interesting history. They probably should have won more. The Gruden shouldn't have been a one and done, but that we could go into that whole. That was one of the best defenses in NFL history there. But anyway, let's not talk about the Bucks because let's here to talk about a team that actually has a shot, and that is the Cowboys. I think they do have a shot, man. You all brought up some really good points. The big thing is, and let's not forget, they barely lost that game against the 49ers. To me, it was just the offense wasn't able to find a flow, especially in the second half. They just couldn't get anything going, and that's really the side of the ball that let them down in that game. The defense did everything they could, and this year the defense is more stable, so I think they should be able to help them out even more in the playoffs or in the postseason. But the other big thing here, guys, is we're seeing the changing of the guard here. All these younger quarterbacks are moving into the spotlight. We got Allen and Mahomes and Jackson, like all these guys, Herbert, all these guys stepping, kind of replacing the old guard. I mean, and the thing is, we're seeing this old guard like in their teams kind of just falling apart. The Rams basically, they're not relevant anymore. They're just completely falling apart. They could be up for maybe like biggest collapse of the season. If there is a biggest collapse of the NFL season award, I would probably hand it to either the Rams or the Buccaneers or the Packers. But those are all three teams with like kind of higher profile quarterbacks on, and they're just floundering right now. And all of those teams are in the NFC. So all of a sudden, we have three major NFC teams that are now just diminished. They're falling apart. Their star is fading, which opens the door for other NFC teams like the Vikings. They're really, 7-1. They're showing up right now. But the door is open for the Dallas Cowboys to actually get into the Super Bowl with all of these other like expected contenders just falling apart.
The Cowboys have the Vikings in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I'm gonna throw this out
Vikings
there.
suck.
Go back to our football, our NFL preview show that we did before the season. I'm the only smart guy on this effing panel because I said the Vikings were gonna be my Super Bowl pick. So I would like y'all to shower me with some beads or something. I'll flash it, whatever. But I want some roses.
When they get there, Rudy, I will throw a tub of beads on you.
Rudy, can we if the Vikings win, can we get you shirtless with chains like Kirk Cousins did and Adam Schefter did today on TV?
I saw that.
And you just smiling on camera, and Hector's recording you, cheering you on, and Stats is in the background with some music while you wear short shorts.
If they win the Super Bowl, oh godly, I have a very hairy chest and body, so would I have to shave? Would I have to shave for that?
Yeah, you probably should shave.
Okay, because
we're gonna sports tonight on you.
Okay, no, well, we'll have to get. I got to get some kind of confirmation on Hector if I can do that. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna stop you assholes because I already know y'all two, and I know everybody else in the show, Candace and everybody. Y'all are gonna put me through that 40-year-old virgin scene, and I'm not doing that. If I've got to shave, we're using the clippers. I'm not going hot wax or whatever on the chest.
If we do 40-year-old virgin on you, you gotta say you like that right before it starts.
Oh my god. Okay, this is getting way off subject here because this is terrible. Yeah, no, I mean, overall, man, Cowboys, they have a legitimate shot. Let's be real. They've got a legitimate shot. The NFC South just sucks. I mean, the Rams are nowhere near what anyone expected. It's really the Vikings, it's the Cowboys. I mean, it's the Eagles, and that's kind of really it. I mean, you can't really say anybody else in this entire NFC looks good anywhere. So legitimately, they've got a shot. This is Sweep the League. It's every Monday night. D Gerv and Big Mo show. Hector, you'd be so proud of me, man, because I was screwing that name up for so many weeks. Finally got it down. D Gerv and Big Mo show on Facebook every single
Rudy, didn't you say Big D?
Yeah, one night it was the
Like the
Big
Big D
D
show.
and the Mo show.
Yeah, Rock.
was
Rudy
like,
said
wow.
the Big D show a few times, and I had to mute myself. I tried so hard not to laugh at that.
Oh my God. Baller Boys podcast. I am Refocus Radio, Shamai on the Beats Internet Radio. And before we get going here, quick shout out to Sports Tonight. Go watch Hector, man. Hector and his crew do a fantastic job. Before we go, Hector, just a little bit, on the side here, man. I'm gonna give you some kudos here. I gotta give you some props, man. You've worked with some fantastic co-workers, and right now you're working with Isabella. You worked with a favorite of mine, Jill Jelnick, who I keep in contact every now and then. She's doing for fantastic things over in Tennessee, man. You work with a lot of great people. I commend you, man, because you give a lot of people in the media industry, sports media industry, opportunities. And one thing that I've always heard about you from a lot of our colleagues is that you're the absolute nicest guy. And Richard Oliver said that too, just FYI, that you are one of the nicest, if not the nicest guy in sports media. I can vouch for that. I've known you since high school. So from all of us here at Sweep the League, man, continue to do what you do. You're idol for a lot of people. You help out a lot of people. Don't ever change, man. I talk to a lot of people that say, where can I get my break in? I said, you know what? I can do what I can, but shoot a message to Hector Ledesma. He'll always answer you. He's a great guy. He may not be able to give you a break, but he'll definitely guide you in the right direction. So it's one thing I did want to say to you. Appreciate all you do for all of us that are still trying to make it up that media ladder, man.
That's really nice of you to say, Rudy. And honestly, man, like don't look at it as trying to make it up the media ladder. You guys are making it up the media ladder. And if that's even a term, right? Like the ladder, like you guys are just making it, period. Honestly, Rudy, like it's nice to hear that. I honestly, I feel bad hearing you when I hear you say that, because I know a lot of times they get so consumed with the work and then like trying to be like a good dad and a good husband and trying to be present in an industry that tugs at you and doesn't allow you to be present, right? Mm-hmm. Like with the games, with the games and the commitments and the nights and the weekends and the whole deal. Like, and so because I make a concerted effort. It honestly does feel a lot of times like, dude, I'm dropping the ball. Like I'm not doing what I should be in certain areas. And one of those areas is listening to people and trying to be more receptive to some incoming messages. When that's the wrong way to put it. Not trying to be receptive, but just not being receptive just in general to some incoming messages. So yeah, man, anything you guys ever need. I know, I like you mentioned, I've known you for years. You're like your family, dude. So anything you need, I've had a pleasure of meeting Rocky over the last couple of years, and I know Rocky and I have talked about a couple of different opportunities. I wish I'm hoping that Sports Tonight can get back to pre-pandemic levels. When we had Jill and Isabella, and guys like Casey Vieira. Mike Lefko, Adriana Torres, Coral Riggs. So we had them all in staff. I love the team that we had. And then the freaking stupid pandemic, while it was a lot worse for a lot of people, and I truly understand that, given what we went through, I realized that, like, relatively speaking, my struggles with it are much less than people who actually lost people because of it. But that being said, that doesn't mean that it didn't wreak havoc on a certain sense of professional dealings, and were tough decisions, and the bosses above me had to make really some really tough decisions. And so I guess where I'm going with all of this is do not hesitate, whether you're listening, the three of you guys, do not hesitate. I hope that I can, give some good advice or help wherever I can, but it is better. The media is better when you have different voices contributing to the medium. It gets boring when it's the same, and that's the great thing that I think the internet has done, right? Like it's not just TV anymore. It's not just TV and radio anymore. There's podcast, there's different ways to go about it. And so it's you keep doing what you're doing, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. You're making a mark, whether you realize it or not. You're making a mark, and whatever I can help with along the way, feel free to ask.
And you're one of the guys that I've always said thank you to for personally, and also for the show, because I mean we were on radio for a while. We're hoping to get back on the radio here. I'm trying to work out some deals here, but we're hoping to get back on the radio. But we were on the radio for a while, and I've always told you personally, you're one of the guys that helped me. You guided me. I remember the very first day I messaged you and James Areola because y'all were doing a potato and egg?
Oh, it was the silly chorizo and egg
podcast. And that was
now to be fair, bro, that was all James. Like that James, you and like in a bit of seriousness, like that was James, because you guys will know the hardest thing about a process is starting it, right? Like it's like, no, I should. But then if I do, then this, and this. And by the time you know it, like 99% of people who have an idea don't get beyond the idea because those first initial steps stop them. So the hardest thing is starting something. And you guys started it, and kind of like chorizo and egg, James started that. Like, had it not been for James, that would have never happened. I was like, bro, you let me know what you need, and let me know what time to be there, or what time to call in, or what time, whatever, to click on the link. And so that was all James in terms of chorizo and egg.
Yeah, that was a cool podcast. I remember way back in the day. That's how far. It's been a long ass time, but nonetheless, man, appreciate for you coming on. Appreciate everything you do, and just like you've got a great staff that works with you and makes the show go. I'm gonna give the same shout out to my guys, Rock, Stats, Derek, Shamaya, and Candace. There's no one below anybody. We're all equal heads, and we all have a say, and we all have something to do with it. But a huge shout out to my staff as well. Something I've learned from Hector is that you can't do this alone. It takes a team, and he's got the absolute best team in his corner. I've got a great team in my corner. So thank you guys for everything. But Hector, it's been fun. I've got a little bit of surprises maybe in the next couple of months where I may need you to come back on, because we're trying to do a celebrity boxing match, and right now it's you against Richard Oliver. So we're trying to see how that's gonna work.
Oh, please, let's record that.
Yeah,
Sweep the league. As long as me and Stats can commentate the play-by-play.
Oh yes, please.
I love Richard. Richard's great, man. Richard's fantastic.
Richard's awesome. Richard is awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's great. So it was good talking to him. But thanks for stopping by, Hector. We appreciate it, and we'd love to have you on again. You want to bring any of your Sports Tonight people on Sweep the League? Just give them the heads up that we're kind of bad over here a little bit. So, but everybody's welcome. Even Richard said Don Harris at one time. So that would make me wonder if I'm even good enough to get the great Don Harris one day.
No, they're super cool, man. They're nice. Don and Chuck, like they're I hear what you're saying. Like they've been here forever, and dude, they've been here for so long that I interned for Don, and like Chuck was like my boss forever. And they're the way I see it, they're forever my boss. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're always going to be the guys that I grew up watching. So I hear what you're saying, but they're super nice, and I can certainly let them know and be like, hey man, come on Sweep the League if you'd like me to. But honestly, Rudy, like if you reached out to them individually, honestly, I have no doubt that if they couldn't in that moment, at some point they would. They're both good guys.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Richard kind of mentioned that last week too. They're both super good guys. We do a show together every week, and I would put Richard in that same line. Like Richard, it's funny. Richard's done some stuff, man. Like working in New York City, like he was working around Bill Parcells and covering all those teams. Like Richard's done a lot of stuff, man. Like don't let him being kind of in charge of the Alamo Dome right now or whatever, freaking running San Antonio. I always tell Richard, you're always running some aspect of the city. I just in a given moment, I just don't know which aspect. But the point being, like, that don't let that job title, quote unquote, fool you. That dude has done some stuff and he knows a lot of stuff and he knows a lot of people. So yeah, it's a good group. And so don't hesitate to reach out to any of them.
Yeah, we will. We'll definitely reach out.
All that being said, if you like me to kind of, whatever, get in between, let me know.
Oh, you're stepping in between, man. Are you gonna ref these fights that we're about to have with everybody? Because
only if Rocky and Stats go at it.
Well, we're all, I grew up on the West Side, so if you're gonna be the ref, I know how to pay off a ref. I'm good at bribery type things, so that's all the West Side in me. St. Mary's University area.
Someone's been watching their Cobra Kai, Rudy.
Oh yeah, if you're comparing me to Terry Silver, that's it. I look nothing like that guy. I'm a lot cuter now, especially since I lost weight. But no, Hector, really do appreciate you coming on, man. For Stats, for Rocky, for Hector, for Candace, who's taking care of the baby, for Derek, who's on the D Gervin Big Mo show, got it. And for Shemaya, who I did say, give me 1 second. We're getting ready to get out of here. 1 second with Shemaya. He's got a lot of big things coming out. Shemaya on the Beats. Follow him on Twitter. You got to go follow this guy. He's got some major stuff coming out. I can't really say, and I really don't have a lot of info, but I have some that I can't really share yet. Let's just say it's going to be big. It's going to be huge. So be sure to follow Shemaya on the Beats. So for everybody here, until we sweep the league again next Monday, we'll see you soon.